For episode 5 of season 4, we will be featuring the stories from the pages of the Nichibei News. Tonight, we highlight people and places with an emphasis in celebrating Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month across the country. For our pastry selection, we interview the producer and director of the opening night film at this year's Center for Asian American Media Film Festival, aka CAMFest, on the background to his film about his father. For our salad selection, we catch up with another director and producer on the history of the rise of Asian America. For our chef special, we visit the Museum of Modern Art in San Francisco to see the Ruth Asawa exhibit. And for our dessert offering, we rerun a popular Impossible Mapo Tofu segment. And stick around to be treated to some news bites of happenings in our Japanese and Japanese American community. Finally, we end the program tonight with tips of events that are coming up in the next month and beyond. So without further delay, let's start the cafe. Hi everyone, and welcome back to episode 5 of season 4 of the Nichibei Cafe. We want to thank all of you for tuning in and supporting us on this journey of documenting Japanese and Japanese American lifestyle. So let's get to it. Starting off with our pastry selection tonight, our SoCal contributing writer and videographer Akira Olivia Kumamoto talks with filmmaker Tad Nakamura about his film Third Act. A film about his father Robert Nakamura, whose life is split into 3 acts. Third Act was the opening film of this year's CAMFest, which was held in SF Japantown this year. Please enjoy.
Filmmaker Tadashi Nakamura's documentary, Third Act, is set to be featured at multiple film festivals in the near future. In the movie, Nakamura records tender moments of his aging and alien father, Robert Nakamura, who is known as the godfather of Asian American media, and reflects on the patriarch's legacy as an artist and dad. The film explores the topic of Asian American activism, art, grief, and fatherhood. Nichibei had the opportunity to speak with Nakamura about his documentary and his relationship with his father. Amidst filming, Robert Nakamura was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, which affected the trajectory of the movie.
There's a part in the film, in the opening, where he says this film's going to be short, right? Because I think at that time we were just thinking of making like a 30-minute film about his career, maybe focusing on visual communications. And really, I just wanted to let people know all the work that he did and the important role in kind of establishing and creating a foundation of the Asian Americans in the media and films and the film community we have now. And but at the same time, I think the only reason why I actually forced myself to start shooting was because I did sense that he was slowing down. We both know what it means to be filmmakers. We both understand that in order for a film to be good, there needs to be depth, there needs to be vulnerability in any of the characters. So I think because of that, it really pushed ourselves to have these much more vulnerable and open discussions that we would not normally have if the camera wasn't there, if we weren't making this film. My dad's made tons of films about camp. So that's why for me, I thought camp was kind of this settled issue with my dad. I thought that he was this filmmaker who had already processed a lot of his experiences in camp and was really all about educating, this whole like never again approach to exposing the camp experience and camp history so it never happens again. So I think that's why I was really surprised once we did start talking about it, how broken he still is, how much of that trauma it still resonates with him even in his late 80s, even after he's had this epic career, even after the Asian American movement. It's still he gets triggered, and that's when I realized it's trauma, and it's not only trauma, but it's childhood trauma. My dad says in the film, like, I almost wanted to go back to camp, or I would almost wish I was back in camp. That's why what I'm proud about this film is that I do feel that this film brings something new to the camp discussion. I don't think we hear many people say that. Even my dad told me that during the movement, he couldn't say those kind of things. So that's what I was talking about in terms of he's actually able in his old age to articulate and maybe things he's always felt, but felt he couldn't express publicly. He feels he can now do that because I think a big theme in the film is this ambivalence, right? But during the Asian American movement, it was a different political context where back then they actually had to prove that it actually not only happened, but that it was bad. I think what was interesting for me is that I always felt that my dad had this gift as an artist. He always had his camera. That was his way to express himself. That was his way to articulate his emotions, or even for himself to just even focus and actually escape his own self-hatred and internalized racism. But he tried to do that alone. He tried to do that as a solo photographer. He was very successful as a commercial photographer, as a commercial artist. But it wasn't until he joined the Asian American movement, it wasn't until that he joined a community and found his community that everything was able to click. And so, if anything, I hope people can draw parallels to their own family's experience, to their own community's experience, to what's going on now, to what happened to my dad, but also a reminder that creating community, coming together, and also resisting in creative ways is one way at least my dad and I have tried to heal from this trauma, and also trying to resist the reoccurrence of this trauma happening in other communities.
To learn more about Third Act and find future screenings of the film, you can visit thirdactfilm.com.
Thank you to Akira and Tad for that interview. For our salad, we visit with SF Japantown's JCYC Executive Director and filmmaker John Osaki on his film Making Waves, The Rise of Asian America. As you will hear from John in the interview, the film chronicles and documents the rise of Asian America through education and the beginnings of the Asian American study programs to help Asian Americans tell their stories. John also shows how appropriate this film is to the times we are experiencing in America. Please get ready for a thought-provoking segment.
To honor Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, we speak with filmmaker John Osaki on his newly released film, Making Waves, The Rise of Asian America, a film on the creation of the Asian American identity through the creation of Asian American studies across the country and what it means to us today.
Well, I think so. We started this project back in 2021, and I originally got into it because I was contacted by some of the faculty at UC Berkeley's Asian American Studies Department, and because they were under siege. The administration had been steadily pulling support from that department. They were down to just a handful of faculty, and this is one of the legacy Asian American Studies programs in the country, right? Actually, technically the first. And so for that department to be in trouble in that way, but also the fact that the community knew nothing about it, right? Like all of the original activists, faculty from that department, they had all retired. And so the new faculty did not have relationships with folks in the community. They were academics, right? They just had a different background than some of the previous faculty that many of us knew. And so when they reached out, it was pretty clear that they didn't know how to fight. And so they called a summit. I was asked to make a short video for that gathering, which was, very successful. But, in the midst of learning about what was happening there and putting together this short video for this summit, I realized that there was a much larger story here, right? Like the evolution of ethnic studies in this country, both in terms of its origins, was obviously a very important story. It's been told many times, but how it's evolved and how it impacts young people or even older people, right, who have gone through those programs, the real impact on them, that really hasn't been told.
John explains the creation of the Asian American identity in the United States that takes us back to the 60s and 70s.
Well, I think in the original student movement that created ethnic studies in this country, what came out for many of those young people is they didn't know their histories. They didn't understand the experiences that their parents or their grandparents had gone through. And for many Japanese Americans, the whole experience of concentration camps was not talked about within the family. And so many people in my generation had no idea it even happened. And so as they started to understand how systemic racism had affected Asian Americans historically, as well as other communities of color, they started to demand that this history that was not being taught in schools was made available.
Like many documentaries, John explains the surprises he encountered making this film.
And then what really surprised us as we started to move through this project was all the current movements happening right now, and that there are these really vibrant Asian American communities all over the country, right, who are fighting for their stories to be told. And I think that was really one of the things that surprised us the most, but really inspired us the most.
The fight for Asian American identity and awareness doesn't stop with this film, as John explains.
So, very fortunate that we have been, our team has received funding from the Asian American Foundation to launch an impact campaign. So we're going to be going into communities like Ohio and Georgia and North Carolina and back to Texas to really use this film as a way to organize communities, to draw attention and build a base of support for ethnic studies movement, inclusive ethnic studies movement. I want to be sure to emphasize that. It's not about just Asian Americans, it's about all communities of color, making sure everybody's stories are told. We're going to use the next year, maybe 2 years, to really use this film to build a base, right? And a groundswell of support for ethnic studies, for inclusive studies, for making sure that we're not whitewashing history, we're not sanitizing systemic racism that has impacted all communities of color. So that's really what I'm going to be focused on with this project, and very grateful that we have the resources to go out to different communities that, frankly, aren't known for having Asian American communities, right? It's not on the coast, right? It's going to be in the Deep South, it's going to be in the Midwest. But we really hope to use this film as a means to, really empower them.
John shares his perspective on why this fight is a necessary one for us to consider.
Because when you talk about discrimination, and they have this playbook which tries to pit, white Americans as being discriminated against by education policies like diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's really the opposite. It's really the other way around. It's all this wealth in this country is owned by this elite few, and they don't want to share it. They don't want to pay their taxes. They don't want to distribute the wealth in this country. They want to hold on to it, and they're just fine with that. And so that's really what's going on in this country. That's, at the end of the day, that's what it all boils down to.
If you'd like to see upcoming screenings of John's film, visit www.jjmlproductions.com. Or find out more about the work that the Asian American Foundation is doing, visit taaf.org. This is Greg Valoria for the Nichibei Cafe.
Thanks to John Osaki and our producer Greg Valoria for this segment. We wish John well on his trips to the South and Midwest. For our chef special tonight, we take a short trip down to the South of Market area where San Francisco's Museum of Modern Art is honoring Ruth Asawa and her art. We were grateful to attend the preview and hope to inspire you to take a visit as well. Please enjoy, and we hope you find this segment informative.
The Nichibei crew was honored to see a preview of the current running exhibit at San Francisco's Museum of Modern Art entitled Ruth Asawa Retrospective. We talk with Henry Reverka, grandson of Ruth Asawa and president of Ruth Asawa Lanier Incorporated, a nonprofit that manages the Ruth Asawa estate, about the worldwide Ruth Asawa posthumous exhibition starting at San Francisco's Museum of Modern Art.
So my grandmother was born on a farm in Southern California. When she was just 3 years old, the Great Depression started, and then she was incarcerated at the age of 16 years old after the Executive Order 9066. And then after going to college at Black Mountain College in North Carolina, she and my grandfather, who was a white architect named Albert Lanier, moved to San Francisco to start their life and their careers as an artist and an architect, respectively. Very early on, although it was her adopted hometown, she was very much San Francisco. She has numerous public commissions like the one behind me, the origami fountains on Osaka Way, which are an important part of her practice as well. So for the first ever posthumous retrospective of her work to open here in San Francisco in her adopted hometown, it's such a world-renowned institution like the San Francisco Museum of Modern Art, and then travel to New York MoMA, Guggenheim, Bilbao, and Foundation Bayern in Switzerland is just tremendously meaningful for our family. Again, when you think about where she came from and where she is today, it's a pretty incredible story.
Henry and other MoMA staff share the journey to bring this exhibit to fruition.
We work with David Dworner Gallery, which is one of the biggest art galleries in the world. And so many of these large exhibition ideas actually come to us through them. Janet Bishop, Chief Curator at SF MoMA, approached David Dworner in late 2019 to begin starting to talk about this show. It really took 5 years of planning and collaboration with our estate to make it all happen, and we couldn't be happier with it.
Well, the way that the exhibition came about was really exciting. We at the museum acquired our first looped wire sculpture by Ruth Asawa a decade ago, and at that point we had been already in discussion about a potential career retrospective exhibition, and then we were just delighted when SF MoMA reached out to us asking if we might want to partner on a project like this. And so it's been an extraordinary journey of about 5 years now in the making, which brought us by way of very deep research and brought us to so many wonderful places to be able to actually see works. And what was so exciting about that was being able to meet with people, who live with Asawa's work, many of whom knew her personally. I feel so many people have a Ruth Asawa story.
We're so excited at the Guggenheim Museum Bilbao to be able to receive this exhibition dedicated to Ruth Asawa. The exhibition will be coming to us in the spring of 2026, and we are really looking forward to being able to show the artistic practice of this wonderful and pioneering artist to our audience for the very first time. It's so important for us to really be able to showcase artists of this great significance, part of this wonderful fabric of modernism of the 20th century, and to really show her at a full-scale retrospective.
Most of the family were in attendance at the preview exhibition, including Ruth Asawa's son, Xavier, which marked an emotional moment for them seeing their mother's art being displayed posthumously.
Anyway, it's emotional to see it all, and you see your life through the years.
The preview event brought together connections to Ruth Asawa through stories told to grandchildren.
Hi, I'm Genji Amino. I'm the director of the Leo Amino Estate. I'm a writer and a curator. I work on Asian American art, often early generations of Asian American artists like Ruth Asawa on both coasts. My grandfather, Leo Amino, immigrated from Japan to the West Coast, spent the first 6 years in the Bay Area, and then to the East Coast in 1935.
Genji's grandfather, Leo Amino, made many stops in the US, one of which was Black Mountain College, where Amino was invited by artist and experimentalist of the times, Joseph Albers, to join the faculty of the Black Mountain College in the summer of 1946, where he taught alongside of Albers and his wife Annie Albers, as well as others, and informed the education of students like Ruth Asawa. Henry talks a bit about the Black Mountain College section of the exhibit.
Okay, so what I love about, the start of this exhibition is that, it starts with their time at Black Mountain College. There's a connection to a tremendous staff there. Among them, Joseph Albers, Annie Albers. Asawa didn't study with Annie Albers, which is a common misconception. But Buckminster Fuller was there, and then also this summer she arrived, the one and only Leo Amino. So in this room, there's a beautiful portrait of Asawa taken by Elizabeth Schmidt-Jennerjohn. This is actually a portrait of my grandmother, an abstract portrait made by a dear friend of her named Ray Johnson, and they were close, long after their time at Black Mountain College. A couple beautiful portraits by Hazel Larson Archer. And then we get into these really, really amazing, colorful paintings, which Asawa is definitely not known for, which is something we're trying to change. But I love this piece in particular because this envelope was actually sent to my grandmother from San Francisco to Black Mountain College. And in turn, she painted this painting and sent it back to him. So there's just so many connections, so many beautiful connections that were made at Black Mountain College. Again, between so many amazing artists like your grandfather as well.
The San Francisco Museum of Modern Art encourages you to reserve your tickets in advance. Everyone needs a ticket for entry, even members and those 18 and younger who are always free. The Ruth Asawa Retrospective tickets include general admission to the museum. The tickets for the Ruth Asawa Retrospective exhibit are available a month in advance and released on the first Tuesday of every month. Please visit www.sfmoma.org/exhibition/Ruth-Asawa-retrospective. Please enjoy. This is Greg Voria for Patricia Wakita for the Nichibei Cafe.
Thanks to our contributing writer Patricia Wakita and producer Greg Valoria for that segment. You can visit the Ruth Asawa Retrospective exhibit from now until September 2nd, 2025. A must-see for Ruth Asawa fans here in Northern California. Just a reminder, you can read in-depth articles about these Nichibei Cafe segments in our community news publication, Nichibei News. To do so, please be sure to become a member of the Nichibei Foundation, where you will receive your bi-monthly complimentary copy of the Nichibei News at www.nichibei.org/subscribe. Next up, for our dessert segment, we rerun a food segment in preparation for the 2025 Northern California Soy and Tofu Festival on June 14th, 2025 at the St. Mary's Event Center.
Yahoo! Welcome to Kota's Kitchen. Mapo Tofu is today's main dish, and Mapo Tofu. Speaking about Mapo Tofu, it's about tofu and meat and my favorite green onion. Doesn't sound like healthy to me. Lots of meat. So today we have impossible beef to make healthy Mapo Tofu. Here we go. Alright, starting off cooking the ginger and garlic. So putting sesame oil in. I cut it off ginger and garlic ahead of time. Very small crumble type. So mixing all together. Next ingredients will be the impossible beef. It's impossible to open. Really? Are you serious? Some are easy. Some are not. Alright, adding impossible beef. so at the Soy and Tofu Festival, Nichibei Foundation is providing the Impossible Mabo Tofu, and Buddhist Church of San Francisco is also providing the Impossible Curry. So it is really great to bring somebody you care about and feeding healthy food at the festival. It's not about sausage, hamburgers. No, it's not like that. It's about healthy food. Yeah, speaking of hamburgers, yes, actually Concord Church of San Francisco is also making Impossible Burger as well. Thanks to the Impossible, meat company, really. It's about the donation. Thank you. All right, so while you're cooking Impossible meat, all right, salt a little bit, not much. All right, so Impossible beef is about to cook. So I'm going to add this minced chopped green onion. For Mabo, you will like to use lots of green part. All right, now green onion is well mixed, and I'm going to add sauces. I'm sorry to use this tablespoon. I have to use it this time. Entry 1, tenmenjang. This is a black bean kind of a paste. And we use this a lot in Mabo. So it's about 6 tablespoons. All right, and then sake, 4 tablespoons. And soy sauce, same, 4 tablespoons. Right, and then oyster sauce, 1 tablespoon. It doesn't come out. Then tobanjang. This is a spicy ingredients. It also depends on how hot you want it to be, so I just use 2 tablespoons. Right, and then lastly, since we are using Impossible beef, so I prepare beef stock. So it's a 600 milliliter on this pot today. Right, okay, let's start. Right, now things are boiling up. I'm adding drained tofu. Since tofu might contain lots of water, so it's better to drain water. And the tofu size is like a dice size. It's like a less than 2 centimeters per square. And for today's guest, I used medium tofu and then 2 blocks for 24 people. All right, so it's been about 5 minutes cooking tofu. So I'm going to thicken the sauce by using katakuriko or potato starch. Yeah, for this much of Mabo, I'm adding about probably 4, 5, 6 tablespoons. Of potato starch, and then water. You have to dissolve all the starch into liquid. And then here's one tip. You don't want to add the potato starch while cooking it. So you want to turn off the heat. The reason is that if you add potato starch while it is cooking, it's going to thicken very, very quick. So only the area you add the potato starch will be the only part getting thick. All right, then I will just pour it all in. Then mix first. Right, then heat up to 300 again. Oh, looks like it was about the right amount of starch. I reduced it to 250, 200, so it doesn't really get burned. All right, looks like it's done. All right, so it's time to eat. So everybody, please stop working and let's eat.
Last year.
Yes, I'm here for Mapo.
A thank you to our office chef Kota Morikawa for that segment. We hope you mark your calendar for the Northern California Soy and Tofu Festival on Saturday, June 14th. Now it's time for some News Bites, our segment where we present quick takes on some articles from the pages of the Nichibei News.
Next is our News Bites, highlighting events over the past month or so, including stories from the pages of the Nichibei News. Let's roll the News Bites, please.
So let's roll the News Bites. The News Bites rolling.
Hello, this is Special Correspondent Max Nihei Filligid for regular news anchor Ryan Yamamoto for May 2025's edition of News Bites. The Japan Coast Guard's Itsukushima docked in the port of San Francisco at Pier 30 and 32 by the Embarcadero San Francisco on May 9 through May 14. This is a brand new Academy training vessel's first trip to the city. On April 20, the Northern California Cherry Blossom Festival's annual Senior Appreciation Brunch honored 5 people who are longtime supporters of the Bay Area Japanese American community. Eiji Miwa, a former member of the festival's parade committee, the late Suzy Sakamoto, nominated by the Eden Japanese Senior Center, Machiko Mimoto, nominated by the San Mateo Japanese American Community Center, Friends of Hibakusha President Jerry Honda, and Joanne Jo Aiko Takata, who created the Extending Connections Senior Social Group program, which ran for 31 years. Today, a small group meets at Joe's house twice a month. The Northern California Cherry Blossom Festival culminated with its grand parade April 20, starting at City Hall and ending in San Francisco's Japantown. Sanrio's My Melody served as a grand marshal. Jack Motoo Dairiki, Seiko Fujimoto, and Reverend Nobuaki Hanaoka, Hibakusha survivors of the U.S. atomic bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki during World War II, served as community grand marshals. Some 650 humans and 24 canines made their way through San Jose's Japantown on April 27 before Nikkei Matsuri for the Uaikai Senior Center's 5K fun run/walk. This year's event was dedicated to Yoshihiro Uchida, who passed away last year at age 104. He was San Jose State University's head judo coach for more than 70 years. San Jose's Japantown celebrated its 47th Nikkei Matsuri on April 27 with more than 100 artisan vendors and some 40 musical and cultural performances. Visitors also enjoyed displays of traditional Japanese arts including kibekobi dolls, ikebana, and bonsai trees. The Cupertino Cherry Blossom Festival returned to Memorial Park April 26 and 27, celebrating the arrival of spring and the sister city friendship between the Northern California city and Toyokawa, Japan. The festival featured taiko drumming, shodo, kyudo, ebochiki, and more. Natalie Nakase, who starred at UCLA as a student and would go on to be an assistant coach with the Las Vegas Aces WNBA team, made her debut as the first Asian American to coach a WNBA team on May 16th as the Golden State Valkyries hosted the Los Angeles Sparks at the Chase Center in San Francisco. The Valkyries lost their first ever regular season game to the Sparks 84-67 behind 37 points from newcomer Kelsey Plum, who played under Nakase last year in Las Vegas. The Valkyries were led by guard Tiffany Hayes, who had 19 points and 9 rebounds. Aki Maehara, an East Los Angeles college professor, was attacked in a possible hate crime April 29th. According to ABC7, Maehara was riding his bike from his college to his home in Montebello, California. The news station reported that a car struck him and he was flung to the ground. Maehara said the suspect yelled ethnic slurs targeting people of Asian descent. I heard and I got hit. My bike and I were thrown down. As soon as I hit that row of bricks, I heard the guy say, "Go back to and then drove away," Maehara told the news station. He was hospitalized with a concussion, fractured cheekbone, a deep cut to his arm, and bruises all over his body, the outlet stated. The Mapo Police Department is investigating the incident as a potential hate crime. For more information or to donate to Maihara's online fundraiser, visit the link below. For more up-to-date news like this, please be sure to subscribe to the Nichibei News, carrying on a legacy of 125 years of community leadership through media at nichibei.org/subscribe.
Well, everyone, thanks so much for joining us for our 5th episode of Season 4. We hope that you enjoyed what we, and of course all of our featured chefs, cooked up for the cafe menu today, featuring stories surrounding AAPI Heritage Month. At this point, we want to give a big thanks to the Henry and Tomoya Takahashi Charitable Foundation for their continued support of the cafe. We're always appreciative of our collaboration with you in finding new ways to engage our Nikkei community. We would like to thank everyone for continuing to support our YouTube channel and hope you enjoy our future content featuring our Japanese and Japanese American community. So please continue to support us by telling your friends, family, and loved ones to subscribe to our YouTube channel, like this episode, and comment down below. To stay in the know of more happenings in the Japanese American community, please consider becoming a member of the Nichibei community to help support what we do here at www.nichibei.org/subscribe. A lot of things are happening in the community. Next up, we will present a calendar of upcoming events.